Hello. Ever since the fall of 2021, I came to a bit of an interesting realization about what movies I really like and I feel stand out a ton from the rest of the crowd. And it was a little interesting that these movies that stood apart were really, really similar in a bunch of ways. So I wanted to look at some of these movies and give a real quick summary of why I love them so much. First, going over the similarities of these, the first thing that I realized with all of these examples was that the runtime was like stupid long on all of them. Pretty much anything over 150 minutes has a foot in the door for me, really. I just love a really good, long, full story. They all have like really good music. They also, at least for me, have incredibly satisfying endings for the grand scale journeys that are taken over what some would describe as a bloated runtime. So I'm going to be going over the ones that have the most acceptable takes first, and then I'm going to go into personal opinion a bit later. It might be a little mixed up, but yeah, let's go. Dune. Dune was just a great experience in the theater. It was such a memorable movie. It's quite different from so many different sci-fi movies. It's a slow burn with a gradual crescendo and then an ending that sets up for part two. If I had to be completely honest, it felt a little episodic on my first viewing, and I think that the ending was a little rushed and lackluster after the full-on invasion occurred, but still, it was a very satisfying piece of eye, ear, and brain candy. The Batman. The Batman was a movie that I left and thought, yeah, no, that was a really damn good movie. It may not be like the most thought-provoking or thematically rich or even subtle in its condemnation of corruption and mistreatment of government systems, but man, it was like really, really well executed. Every aspect of it just works so well. Its ability to split time between a crime drama and a superhero flick is just, chef's kiss. It's so well done. The only complaint I have is that the score got a little repetitive, but other than that, it's entirely worth picking up and revisiting every few months. Zodiac. Zodiac is very similar to the Batman in a ton of ways. It's written so tight that it engages you from start to end, while not to discredit the Batman, but it makes you cling to your seat out of anxiety and fear. Its restraint is also something that I applaud a lot. It's a slow burn that is as captivating as it is creepy. The only complaint I have is that I don't really like Jake Gyllenhaal in it, although it's not the worst movie he's led. Do not watch it alone, you'll have issues sleeping. Now we get into some of the more interesting picks. Eternals. Eternals is an interesting one because I think it's a fairly well done movie. I just think it was broken a little in the editing room. First, the good. Its cast and century spanning story is quite ambitious, and I've got to say that I think it succeeded in that epic grand tale type thing. It's got some cool characters and superpowers showcased in a way that was really, really entertaining and fresh. I think that the cast and crew did a really good job bringing the story to life. Its music was also really fun, and its effects were just about flawless. For negatives, I think there should have been some setup in the present, maybe until they find Ajax dead, and then the story goes back in time to all of the stuff before present day, and then culminates with them breaking up, and then they reform to make the team up at the end feel more impactful. I also think the color grading was a bit flat, and, what can you really do? It's a Marvel movie, I guess. I just find that a little frustrating. Overall, I get why some people don't like it, but I think that the critics got this one at least a little bit wrong. It definitely doesn't deserve to be in the bottom of the barrel in terms of Marvel movies. No Time to Die. No Time to Die was a fantastic surprise when I saw it in theaters. I was just expecting a cool spy story. I think I got more, though. First, the action and directing is just so good. 163 minutes, and they all go by at a good pace, and I never really found myself getting bored. Complementing just about every scene is a tremendous score that punches you in the head and the heart when it needs you to. And that track from Billie Eilish is tied for the best goddamn song with Skyfall. Speaking of Skyfall, I'll say it. I like this movie better than Skyfall. I know Skyfall had a great villain and No Time to Die was lacking a character for a villain, but I think I'm okay with that. The decision to focus on James Bond in this iteration's last movie is a really good choice that really connects you to him once his journey ends. I am of the opinion that this movie is not regarded highly enough for what it is, but, what can you really do? It still made its money. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End simply cannot be viewed without the other accompanying half, and while it may seem a detriment to some, I can't help but dive forehead first into this weird-ass world of calamari monsters. There's such a refreshing lack of creative tampering apparent, as well as the fact that every damn dollar put in this duology is on the screen and still holds up 15 years after they were released. At World's End was robbed of a visual effects Oscar. Don't at me, the Golden Compass looks like shit. Do these movies take their time? Yeah. Can they be stupid and silly? Yeah. Do I really care? I don't know. These movies got a really bad rap when they came out, and I don't think they really deserve that at all. They're some of the best blockbuster sequels that complement each other as a 5-and-a-bit-hour journey, in my humble opinion. The best piece of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, although they should have ended it there with Jack taking the place of Will and riding off into the sunset. But one can dream. Tenet. Tenet was a movie I was skeptical to go into. From what I had heard, it had shaken Christopher Nolan's standing in the world of filmmaking with a complicated, complex, confusing narrative and some creative choices that led its audience to be alienated at times, I guess. However, I thought it was a really well-done movie that, aided with subtitles, was quite enjoyable. I can see why others would get confused, though. It's another one on this list with a killer soundtrack, too. I think it was a great conceptual movie that Christopher Nolan has just about mastered now. While I don't think it's anywhere near my favorite movie, it's got a lot of really great stuff in it. Interstellar. Like Tenet, Interstellar was one of Nolan's original films that was received a little more mixed than his Batman or war movie efforts, but I think it stands out as probably my favorite film in his catalog. Even I can admit that it's really, really slow and plodding towards the start, but once those emotional roots are grown, it embarks on a journey that can only really be described as breathtaking. The visuals are legendary, the score is intense, the emotion is so tangible, the themes of connection relevant for a little under a decade and will remain so in decades to come. A journey so emotional and mind-boggling that it's crazy to think that just two really smart and creative people wrote it. It's a journey with these characters for 170 minutes, and it earns every single one of them. It's kind of just breathtaking. So yeah, that's it for this video. There's other movies that I like more that are shorter. However, these were just ones that I found in that interesting pattern that I found a couple years back. Anyways, I hope y'all have a good rest of your day and have a good one.